What up, y'all? It's Leezy. I'm back with another trade recap. And this time, I actually want to show you guys like my whole thought process and how I learned to think this way. So let's just get straight into it. Now, when I'm trading, there's a few different things that I'm looking for to take a solid trade, to be like, all right, this goes with my plan. Let's just take it. So, first off, we're zooming out, okay? And we're trying to see what the market has been looking like. All right. And we usually want to see like the past 14 days. So, say like from the 28th to the 14th. We want to see the past 2 weeks or 14 days. Let's see. Past 14 days, 2 weeks, whatever. So, here I'm asking myself, are we on an uptrend? Are we on a downtrend? Or do we have a major point that we need to break? Or is there a major point that has been broken? Those are the three questions I'm asking myself when I zoom out. And they're pretty simple questions, right? And to answer it, we're clearly on a downtrend, right? And then when it comes to the major point that we have to break, we had a major point right here in the market that we broke. We were on a downtrend, but we were starting to go up. And then we broke this. And I call this a major point in the market because we have like nothing else over here. Like the next major point to where we had like some big surge is up here. I mean, down here. So that means we have a lot of room to go down. And we broke this point. So now what I'm looking for is either a supply setup, since this is a downtrend, or we're looking for a three candle setup. So I'm only going to explain the supply setup to you guys. And I learned how to draw these zones from Doyle Exchange's supply and demand strategy. So I used a bit of his strategy in this with when it comes to like drawing zones. But basically, I drew this 5 minute zone right here, and it's always a zone with the gap. So there is a gap right here. If this candle like wicked a bit more, there wouldn't be a gap. So we have a gap right here that needs to be filled, and when gaps are filled, the market likes to go the opposite way after that. So we look on the 5 minute, we see we have a zone right there. If we look on the 15 minute, we also look for a zone. So it was a 5 and 15 minute zone. So that gives us even more confluence, right? Let me draw up this zone too. We always draw it from the green candle that creates the zone, and then from the bottom to where the gap is, basically. So that's why I drew it all the way up here, because this candle was above it. I mean, this red candle was above it, but we still had this gap right here. But this is where the zone started. And then we also have the 1 hour that we look at, and we're trying to see if there's any zones. And there's no zones right here, there's no gaps. So I go back on the 5 minute, and we're waiting for it to touch the 50 EMA, and we're also waiting for it to close. Okay, we're waiting for it to touch the 50 EMA, and then we're waiting for it to tap the zone, and then we're also waiting for it to close below the 13 SMA, SMA. This is a 50 SMA and the 13 SMA. So as you can see, we had a huge sell-off right here, and it is closing below the 13 SMA. So now we are getting in on the break of candle. So the next candle has to break this low. And basically I set my stop loss, not my stop loss, I set my limit order to literally 1 point below this. So boom, right there. And with this candle, now we're in. If it never went below that, we're not in. We just wait. So now that we're in this setup, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. I thought it was about to lose right here. I'm like, man, if it doesn't react to the 13, we're cooked. And it reacted, and then it started being pretty slow, going down for a minute, and then it started going back up a little bit, but it was still reacting to the 13. So I had some hope, and then I was losing hope again. I was really like, man, this trade is not going to work. I was like, this trade is not going to work. But I also kept in mind that one of the biggest rules in trading is that anything can happen. So keeping that in mind, boom, you see what's going on now. We're going down. All right, starting to go down, and then boom, it hit take profit. We always go for a 1 to 1.5 as long as our risk is in between the 1,000 and 1,200 range. If it is above that, then we are going for a 1 to 1. So that is just to keep our risk around the same amount. So this was a good trade, and we got the 1 to 1.5, but we always go for the 1 to 1.5 from not from the break of candle, just from the low of the first candle that broke below the 13 SMA. So boom, 1 to 1.5. We got a dub here, and that's all we look for. Just a little checklist. I'll show you guys my strategy. I wake up and I pray and I make my bed and just have like little mindset stuff in here. So these are the questions. These are the questions I was talking about. And then I do my analysis on each pair that is on here. And platinum was the one that looked the best. Silver and gold, they also look solid. They had zone confluence, but the EMAs weren't aligned. That's another thing I forgot to say. The EMAs have to be aligned. And as you can see, the EMAs are aligned here. And when it comes to EMA alignment, it goes the 13 is at the bottom for sales, and then the 50 is in the middle, and then the 200 is above, both. So that's what it is. Now, in this situation, if we were taking like a sell right here, we couldn't because the 50 is above the 200. So we can't take it. But this was a trade we took today, man. We got a solid win out of it, and we are getting closer and closer to getting that payout. So, hey, man, that's going to be great. We just got to keep on taking our plan. No expectations. Just follow the plan and make sure that we are not in any mindset of like, oh, we got to prove something. Oh, we got to do this. All we got to do is take our plan. All we got to do is show up properly. And that's what we've been doing. So we will keep on doing that. And I will see you guys in the next recap for the week. Want to know? Well, that's it for the week, y'all. We only had one trade this week, and honestly, I'm not tripping. It is what it is. Excuse me. We really only could have traded Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because we had NFP on Friday. And let me fix this up a little bit. All right, so we actually had NFP on Thursday, and then July 4th was being observed on Friday, which was actually the 3rd. So we took no more trades, and we just took a trade on Monday. It was a profitable week. That's what really matters. It's been very slow. June was very slow. We went 6-3 hypothetically, but since we missed that 1 week where we were traveling, we went 5-2. So hey, that's pretty good. Honestly, I'll take it 5-2. If I'm being completely honest, it's cool being a decent trader now. Like, actually, I feel like I'm in a good flow, but it's pretty boring, bro. But that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be like. I'll give more thoughts later.